And hello and welcome to the Seer 365 sessions. Every week we have the opportunity of talking to somebody from the Microsoft ecosystem. And really the whole point of this is to learn from others, to see if there's something that they do that you can bring into your business. And hopefully we can all learn together as a community. So today I'm really excited to have Luciano join us from 2Increase. So as per normal, why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit about 2Increase, Luciano?
Thanks, Richard. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Luciano Cunha. I'm the CEO at 2Increase. And at 2Increase, we are a global ISV with Microsoft Dynamics. That means we've been developing solutions on the Microsoft Dynamics platform for the last 17 years, building in certain industries, like, for example, manufacturing, rental businesses, and we also have a number of horizontal solutions that we bring to market.
Thanks, Luciano. And you guys are a very famous ISV in the Dynamics world, certainly, and somebody that I've personally been working with for pretty much my whole Dynamics journey. So really cool to have you on. So whilst we've got you on this podcast and an opportunity to hear from you, well, let's sort of hear about what you're seeing in the ERP space. What are the challenges you're seeing from customers at the moment?
Yeah, we see a lot of customers struggling with data because, there is a lot of data being created everywhere. Over 1 trillion megabytes per day of data gets created in the world today. And what our customers are struggling with is, how do we manage that? I mean, all the way from integrations, migrating the data into the ERP system. But then once you're in, how do you make sure that you have good data in the system? So it goes from data quality, data governance, all kinds of aspects around data. As we continue to see larger and larger organizations uptaking Dynamics, they really struggle with figuring out, how do I manage my master data? How do I bring in data from other systems, whether it's SAP or product lifecycle management, PLM systems. So we've seen a lot of challenges with organizations across the globe, trying to figure out, how do I manage all of this? So that's been a really key issue. We also know that especially when we're implementing ERP, it doesn't matter which ERP it may be, data migration is one of the challenges that we see sometimes get left a little bit to the side, and clients and partners struggle with trying to make sure that we have the right data going into the system. So I think the one thing that we can bring to the table is a set of tools in our data management suite that can help organizations in both bringing data in, making sure it's good quality, and managing it over time in the system.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, and look, we'll go into more detail around data in a second, but certainly data migration is always that one thing that seems to cause problems. I've been involved in a lot of ERP projects over the years, and if I had to put my finger on one thing that you really want to make sure goes well, or pretty much guaranteed if it doesn't go well, will cause a massive problem, data migration is one of them, and especially when customers see the cost for doing that migration is always the one where they're like, oh, we'll do that. We'll cover that bit. We'll hire some interns or something. We'll do it. And then it's the bit that always delays the project. So maybe we'll talk a bit about that. So around the data itself, how are you working with those customers at the moment?
We have lots of customers, over 2,300 customers worldwide, and we're doing a lot of different projects to help them. You talked about data migration, which is the beginning of maybe an ERP journey, right? And trust me, I've seen a lot of projects like you just described, too many of them. Yeah. And actually, in some cases, we have customers that come to us and they go, well, let's just try and do it on our own. And we go, hey, listen, it's best for you to leverage one of our tools to be able to help you there. And then the ones that go on their own journey, sometimes they come back later and say, it's been a mess, please help us. Yeah. And then we bring our tools in to be able to help them in migrating. So it starts, if we start at the beginning on the migration side and kind of walk through a little bit of the life cycle of an ERP, on the migration side, making sure that you have a system that can easily map from Dynamics to your data and the diversity of data there, without you having to write a bunch of scripts and customize a bunch of stuff. I know Microsoft has got some tools. We've created some overlay on top of that to make sure that it's a lot easier to manage. And we've got project-based data migration with staging tables, with quality setup, so that you know what type of data needs to be come in. So it gets tested before it goes into the system, assuring that all of that information is going to be accurate when it comes in, including all of customizations, ISVs, and everything else. If you're just migrating, standard master data into clean dynamics and you're not bringing anything else, fine. Microsoft tools can help you just fine. But when you have a gamut of customizations, different ISVs and everything else, that's when things get complicated, and our tools can be of a lot of help there. That's just the beginning of that data journey, right? Because you've got a lot of information that you're continuing to generate and put it in there. So we've got a number of tools there to make sure that, one, data governance is in place, assuring that if you're gonna change your master data, and let's say Dynamics is your master data system, your system of record, and you need to potentially have change management around that. You need to have field record security. You need to be able to identify how you're going to distribute that data to other systems. Or maybe Dynamics is not the master, and master may be SAP, and you're receiving that data. How do you make sure that the quality of that data that's coming in matches up with what you have in your system with Dynamics, your customizations, your ISV solutions, making sure everything is working out well? And then let's say, you have great data there, but what do you do with all of this? Well, we've got to distribute it outside, either to other organizations for trading, for example. We've got an EDI solution that helps organizations trade through electronic data with our EDI solution. Or it could be just, integrating with other systems, or even have a system that helps you get data out of the application to expose it out to create a data warehouse and expose with all kinds of analytics on top of that. We have a set of tools that really helps customers doing all of that without having to worry about custom or maintaining a bunch of custom scripts or code. We do that to make it easier for our customers to be able to get value from all that data that they're gathering and creating in the system.
Very cool. So when you're talking to customers, what are you kind of the top 5 things or top 3 things, whatever, that you think they should look for? Is there a sort of a hierarchy that you try and get them to go through?
Yeah, so the first thing that we always talk to our customers about is what are the different inputs and outputs of your data that you're going to be leveraging? What are the other systems that are going to be combined to make sure that we've got a few things in place? One, governance, as I mentioned earlier. What is your data governance policy, and how do you maintain and manage that over the life cycle of the business application? What's the level of data quality that you have coming in, and what are the details that you need to have in place? So that you make sure that everything is validated and that your data in the ERP is as good as it can be. But all of that is nothing without a method for you to enter data in the system. So there is, of course, the standard forms as you're working through your processes in the ERP. But we always ask our customers, are there certain types of larger data entry or specific types of processes that requires a lot of data entry, especially from multiple different people before, for example, product gets created? There are multiple different people that needs to enter certain parts of the information before that product gets done. So what is that entry workflow like? And then we combine all of that to figuring out, okay, so on the governance side, there is, field level security, there is change management, there is all kinds of different aspects of the data that we come in to help with data quality. There is all types of tools to assure that there is data validation and data curation before any of that reaches your system. Or in the then data entry side, where we have a workflow where you can have multiple people entering data from different sides, validating through all of our applications before, and maybe sometimes even with approval processes of those entries before it actually goes into the system, so that you have you make sure that you have the right data in there, because garbage in, garbage out. So we want to make sure that our customers can bring data in, take data out, and make sure that as they're creating data, it's of the best quality so that they can get the return from that.
That's really interesting, actually, because I'm coming up to my 20th year of doing Dynamics in January, and when we started, it was very much a effectively office-based data entry. There would be, yeah, sure, some early EDI maybe back then, or whatever it might be, fax machines probably, carrier pigeons, I don't know, but getting it into the system. Whereas now that data entry is literally thousands of different devices potentially, even things from IoT as an example, right? So getting data from that wider disparate ways of getting data into the system.
That's right. And we see our clients really struggling with that. Again, it's not as simple as, somebody comes into a form in the Dynamics system and they're just entering a piece of data. Of course, you have those workloads and workflows as well. But as you said, there are data points coming in from different systems, multiple people having to aggregate data to be able to fill out a particular record or something that is specific in the system, multiple devices in different areas and different times to make sure that it all comes together. So the question for our customers really is, how are you making sure that this is the right data? How do you make sure that the right people have access to the right pieces? How do you make sure that whenever somebody's trying to get something in, if there needs to be an approval process, how do you manage that approval process? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to simplify that for all these organizations with master data management, with better integrations, with easier ways for mapping, so that we can simplify the life of our customers in bringing all of that data together, and then doing all the analytics on top of that to make sure that they can really see where do they need to focus their time on and how do they drive more value out of their business. A lot of times, Richard, as you know, a lot of people get bogged down with technology and trying to get the systems to work for them. We're really trying to simplify that for them so that they focus their time on growing the business, on getting the value that they need from that data, rather than figuring out how to clean up, get data in, and do all of that stuff.
Very cool. So do you have a favorite customer example of
I have a lot of great.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, and if you don't feel comfortable saying the customer name, that's also cool. But like just I always find that's the best way of visualizing what this kind of looks like.
Absolutely. Let me talk about a few customers. I won't mention their names so I don't get in trouble later. But
sure.
mention a few examples of specific customers and how they're leveraging some of our solutions. There is a very large manufacturer in the world, very well known. I think if I could share their name, I think everybody would know who this customer is. And in their manufacturing process, they create a lot of new parts. So they're engineering new parts, and they're doing that on Siemens Teamcenter, their PLM system. One of the things that we help them with is, they have this very large engineering system. They need to be able to bring that data into Dynamics to be able to actually produce that part. One of the things that we do for them is we have an out-of-the-box integration with Siemens Teamcenter, for example, where in this particular customer, we're connecting Dynamics to Siemens, not just to push data into the system, but to bring the data in with the right validation, with the right approval process, going through the engineering change management system inside of Dynamics, for them to start the process going from engineering BOM over in the engineering system to getting a manufacturing BOM inside of the Microsoft Dynamics system, for example. So that's one example of how we manage that data. We have a very, very large client in France who has about 60 companies worldwide. And these companies are not all running Dynamics. So they have the master data, the owner of the data is actually a Dynamics instance. And in this particular customer, they want to make sure that they're replicating that data for their other ERP systems across their business, and making sure that all of that data is going in at the right time. So when there is a master data that needs to be updated in the master system, they go through a master data validation, so a workflow approval process. In that change of the master data, they're using our data entry workflow, making sure that all of the connected pieces of data from all the different people and systems comes in, gets approved, and goes into that master data finally after final approval. When it goes in, what they're doing is they're replicating that data to all of their other instances that are not in Dynamics, right? So they're pushing that data out to different ERP systems so that they're all synced up on the latest master data across the business. That's another example of how a customer is leveraging our solution. I talked about migration. Lots and lots of customers just leveraging our migration solutions to be able to, just define a project. Here are all the pieces I need to migrate with a certain hierarchy. There is certain connections between these hierarchies. We drag and drop, create the mappings to the data that they're bringing in. They leverage and start loading those files in there, whether it has entities that are not supported by Microsoft and there are customizations or ISVs. Our application goes into the system and gathers all of that to enable that easy modeling for our customers. And then they bring the data in, and all of the data gets validated. Of course, gets put into staging tables first, gets validated, and then pushing back into the dynamics. And that gets done many, many times during implementation as they're refreshing systems, etc. So lots of our customers are leveraging our solutions in that way. So those are just some of the examples of some of the clients we have and some of the usages they have of our data suite.
Luciano, thank you very much for that. I feel kind of weird saying on this podcast that some people might not know To Increase, because you literally are one of the best known ISVs in the Dynamics world. But hopefully, hearing from you and hearing some of the use cases where your software's been helping customers all around the world. Certainly, I think the use cases you showed there about a customer with a master data system with a disparate estate, that is certainly one that I would imagine a lot of people have seen that type of problem before. Certainly I've been involved with one about 12 months ago with Microsoft where there was a customer looking for an ERP system in 180 countries, and right now they're very disparate. So it's admittedly that was kind of an outlier one, but there's lots of companies like that. So and certainly data migration, just that on its own, that's always a pain point. So certainly if you can help with that, I'm sure people are reaching out to you. So thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is just one example. You talked about a number of companies. There was one. It's a customer we've had for quite some time leveraging our data tools, but they actually have. I'm trying to remember the exact number. I'm not sure. I probably won't get it right, but they have 21,500 different entities inside of Dynamics. It's huge, and they're leveraging our data tools to be able to import data in, not during migration or the beginning of ERP. They've been running Dynamics for some time, but they have all kinds of other systems that's feeding Dynamics data. And we've got our integration tools that helps them bringing data into all these different entities across, over 21,000 different entities that they have in the system. So the scale there is massive.
All right. Well, when we go off from being live, you can tell me who that customer is, because that's really interesting. That's really interesting. So Luciano, thank you very much for your time. Again, I've been working with To Increase pretty much my whole career. So certainly a leader in the Dynamics world. So I highly recommend you check him out. So Luciano's LinkedIn details are on the screen at the moment. I'll put it on the podcast if you're listening to this as well. And also, if you don't know To Increase, you've never been on the website and checked them out, I highly recommend you do it. Great people to work with, easy to work with, which I'll be honest, more than anything else for me as I go through my career, is probably one of the more important factors for working with any vendor. So thank you very much, Luciano. And thank you very much for spending some time with us today. And I hope everybody out there has a great rest of your week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a great one.
Bye.